Dear representatives of the media, happy to greet you all here in Tallinn, and I will be very happy to welcome my fellow EU defense ministers, High Representative Mogherini, Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary General of NATO, here in Tallinn. We will have three very important issues to be discussed. First, it's cyber defense. And we will run a tabletop exercise called CYBRID 2017. We will put the defense ministers to a figurative situation where they would have to address political issues connected to the cyber defense of an EU operation. Then we'll address the Sahel and Horn of Africa problems. There's no doubt that this is a crisis area which brings both terrorism and illegal immigration to Europe, and we'll focus on the issue of how to comprehensively address this problem, both from the civilian side of EU and from the military side of EU. And finally, it's PESCO. We want to have a very inclusive PESCO organization, and we'll hope as many EU countries as possible will join it. We would want every EU country who is ready to join feel comfortable with PESCO. Thank you very much.
Minister, you're doing a tabletop exercise.
Indeed.
Do you feel the European Union is prepared for any kind of cyber attack on the military?
Well, it's difficult to say. You are never prepared for any kind of attack. But I think this exercise will show to the ministers how important it is to be prepared, both from the political point of view and from the technical point of view. We are not creating programmers from the ministers, but we want them to understand that these quickly developing situations could demand quick political decisions. That's the idea of the exercise.
Do you think there will be a PESCO structure in place by the end of the year?
We very much hope so, that when the Estonian Presidency concludes in December, PESCO will be ready to go, and as many European countries as possible will join the organization. For Estonia, it's very important that one commitment the ministers would make is the commitment to 2% of GDP for defense spending. This might not be possible for everybody, but I think to have a strong defense, we need more resources, more capabilities, so that the EU defense would have an added value.
Can you have an ambitious PESCO really ready to do real activities and at the same time keep it very wide and open?
I think we can, because there's no doubt that the political chapeau can be wide, but then there might be smaller groups of countries who focus on particular operations and who have capabilities, military capabilities, to address those challenges. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We will have today a very important meeting. First of all, jointly foreign and defense ministers, just 1 year after the informal defense ministers in Bratislava, where we started discussing the strengthening of defense cooperation in the European Union. Today, we would be ready to launch the permanent structured cooperation and the European Defence Fund by the end of the year under the Estonian Presidency. So from this meeting today, I would expect a very strong indication by the defense and foreign ministers that member states are ready to go. And from our side, we would be ready to prepare everything by the end of the Estonian Presidency. So I would say that this is a major achievement in just 1 year. Last year we were very far away from this. It seemed to be quite unrealistic, and I think we've done a remarkable European common work. With the defense ministers, and again a very important input from the Estonian Presidency, we will have an exercise on a cyber attack that will be part of the first ever joint exercise with NATO, between the European Union and NATO. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is here with us and will be invited to join. We will also have a very important discussion with the defense ministers on how to strengthen the European Union contribution to the security in the Sahel and in the Horn of Africa, which is a key strategic objective also for the European security. With the foreign ministers later today, we will have a point on the Middle East peace process and how the European Union contribution to the two-state solution can be made more effective in a time where the trends internationally and on the ground are not positive. And most of all, we will have another time, a point on North Korea, DPRK. Already in July, the European Union took a very firm and united position. Today, we are facing a different level of threat that is clearly a threat to global peace and security and to the entire non-proliferation regime. I would propose to ministers today to strengthen the economic pressure on North Korea, supporting a new UN Security Council resolution adopting tougher economic measures, studying new autonomous European Union sanctions on North Korea, and working with other partners in the world to make sure that everybody implements fully and strictly the already decided economic measures. Our European line is very clear on this: more economic pressure, more diplomatic pressure, unity with the regional and international partners we have. I discussed this with the ministers of Republic of Korea and Japan, and obviously with the IEA and the CTBTO just a couple of days ago. Avoiding to enter into the spiral of a military confrontation that could be extremely dangerous not only for the region but for the entire world.
Can sanctions on North Korea, more sanctions, can they make a difference? Some countries seem to think that they would not help.
Well, in other cases, they have made a difference, putting more pressure on the regime to enter into a meaningful dialogue. The European Union has always been convinced that economic pressure alone is never sufficient. That is why, from our side, we've always offered our regional, international partners, the international community, and even the DPRK, the path of dialogue, credible, meaningful, for the denuclearization of the peninsula, that we believe should happen in peaceful manner through dialogue and diplomatic means. And we believe that more economic pressure in this respect, more diplomatic pressure in this respect, could make a difference. In any case, it has to be pursued because, again, other alternatives in our view are and could be extremely dangerous, especially when in front of you you have an interlocutor that might act quite irrationally, as we have already seen. So this is going to be the kind of proposal I will put forward to the ministers. Don't expect from today a formal decision. As you know, this is an informal meeting. But my proposal to the ministers will be to work in the coming days to, as I said, strengthen the economic pressure, including with new EU autonomous sanctions, and leaving the diplomatic and political path open.
On the sanctions, can you confirm there's an option to put Kim Jong-il on the EU list?
Sorry?
Can you confirm that if there's the option that is studied, envisaged, is to put Kim Jong-il on the EU list of persons?
As I said, today I will put forward to the ministers the proposals to work in the coming days to increase including the European Union autonomous sanctions, and that debate, if the ministers agree, will start as of today. Thank you.
Please.
As yesterday.
As yesterday. Yeah.
That's very good.
So there were
Emphasize the fact that we promised to launch a rescue fund in the Estonian Presidency. And also this
no, I think glad that it will be some troops come from the Sahel, and they are used for very different environment operation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Nice to see you. Welcome. Welcome to Estonia.
Please, moment for a picture.
Now the members of the party.
And then it's done.
Thank you.
It's not painful at the end of the day.
Not painful.
It's not painful, it's a good start. Yeah, here, please. Thank you. Hello, good morning. My pleasure.
Welcome. Well, very much. Let's make a small photo.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. And where shall I go? Good morning.
The doors to the left, there is a cloak.
Yeah, thank you.
Very nice to meet you. Slovakia. I understood that. Let's wait for a moment. We just lost power from the TV cameras, so let's see.
Let's make one official picture, please. Yes. Thank you.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Hands are dark. Thank you.
Yes, great stuff.
Atmosphere. Good morning, very well, thank you. How are you?
Welcome. It's a bit dark, but photo will be even better.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning. Minister.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Good to see you. Take
Yes. Agree. Okay. I see you over there.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. ¿Cómo se encuentra?
After the doors to the left, there is a door. Exactly. Oh yeah, we have exercise today.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yep. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Morning, Ambassador.
Morning,
So, please have your badge visible for inspection.
Afterwards, coffee served. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Kulturiga.
After the doors to the left.
I think it's great. And okay. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Thank you very much. I knew that
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Very nice to meet you.
Hello. Okay, we'll go upstairs.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
What a pleasure. Good morning, my dear.
Good morning. How are you? I'm fine. How are you?
What a pleasure. Good morning. Yes. It was already fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we're going to have a official photo.
have your badges visible?
Good morning. How are you? Please. Mr. Minister, how are you?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, Minister.
Good morning. Good morning. First of all, it's good to be back in Tallinn and to meet with EU defense ministers. I look forward to meet all of them and in particular to discuss cyber and how we together can respond to the many cyber threats we are faced with. I look forward to participate in the cyber exercise together with the EU defense ministers. That's the first time I participate in the cyber exercise with the European Union, and I'm also glad to announce that NATO has decided to upgrade the EU participation in our cyber exercise, which is going to take place later on this year. It's called Cyber Coalition, and it's one of the biggest cyber exercises in the world, and the EU will be a full participant, will participate fully in that cyber exercise. We are faced with many challenges in the cyber domain. Over the last year, we saw a 60% increase in the number of cyber attacks against NATO networks. And it is important that we work together with the European Union to defend also our allies and our members against many different kinds of cyber attacks. So timely exchange of information, harmonizing our procedures is key to respond to any kind of cyber attacks. And we saw that also this spring with the two major or big cyber attacks where NATO and EU worked closely together. Our experts exchanged information and helped each other in our response to these major cyber attacks. So we will step up our efforts. I look forward to work closely with the European Union and also discuss with the EU ministers how we can further strengthen NATO-EU cooperation in general.
Later today, ministers will talk about North Korea. Are you concerned that Russia is resisting further sanctions on North Korea?
There are already sanctions agreed in the EU, in the UN, and it is extremely important that all those sanctions are fully implemented, because the North Korean behavior is a global threat and requires a global response, a united global response. Therefore, we call on North Korea to fully comply with all the UN resolutions, to abandon its nuclear and missile programs, and to refrain from further testing, and to engage in a constructive dialogue, and then that the whole global society fully implements the UN resolutions on sanctions.
In the cyber attack storyline, there is also an anti-globalization group mentioned as a potential threat. Do you see this as a threat that NATO needs to deal with?
No, we don't have any specific groups which we have pointed at as threats or enemies. We are ready to defend ourselves against any cyber attack coming from government and state and non-state actors. So we have not identified any specific group as an enemy or a threat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Här har vi dem. Tjenare! Hej! Hej.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you.
Krieg, gleich in der Nähe, bald russische Manöver. Wird es gefährlicher in Europa und was bedeutet das für Österreich?
Ich glaube nicht, das wird massiv gefährlicher. Wir müssen auch nicht Angst haben in Europa, aber es zeigt ganz klar und deutlich, dass Verteidigung und Sicherheit wesentlich sind, dass es wichtiger wird, dass wir hier auch mehr Augenmerk auf diese Themen legen müssen. Ich glaube, das haben wir in Österreich in der ersten Phase auch gemacht. Wir haben einen Cyberschwerpunkt in unserer Strukturreform des Heeres gelegt. Wir kümmern uns und wir legen Themen auch hier in die Europäische Union, wenn es darum geht, wie geht es mit der Thematik Migration weiter. Es hat sich gezeigt, dass sich auch unsere ständige Forderung der der Verfahrenszentren außerhalb Europa jetzt auch in Europa durchgesetzt hat. Und hier müssen wir den Schwerpunkt drauf legen. Und ich erwarte mir schon heute auch bei diesen Themen, dass wir nicht nur darüber reden, sondern dass wir auch erste Ansätze bringen, wie wir in diese Situation Verfahrenszentren beispielsweise auch umsetzen können.
Muss sich Österreich stärker an die NATO anlehnen?
Ich glaube, die Situation und das Verhältnis zur NATO ist ganz klar. Wir diskutieren heute auch über die ständig strukturierte Zusammenarbeit in Europa. Aber eines ist in allen Bereichen klar, in der Zusammenarbeit mit der NATO und auch in dieser ständig strukturierten Zusammenarbeit. Die Grenzen Österreichs sind ganz einfach die Neutralität. Und die Neutralität wird in dieser Form, wie wir sie kennen, bestehen bleiben. Die
Weigerung Ungarns, Flüchtlinge aufzunehmen, auch nach dem gestrigen Urteil des Europäischen Gerichtshofs, hat die möglicherweise sicherheitspolitische Auswirkungen?
Glaube ich weniger, dass es sicherheitspolitische Auswirkungen hat, aber das zeigt umso mehr, wie wichtig es ist, hier hinter das Thema Migration auch eine klare Struktur und einen klaren Plan zu legen. Glaube ich schon, dass es wichtig ist, dass wir jetzt diese Verfahrenszentren in den Gang kriegen, dass wir in weiterer Folge auch für Grenzschutz eine Lösung finden. Wir haben auch hier eine Lösung vorgeschlagen. Wir werden nächste Woche dazu auch eine multilaterale Übung in Österreich haben. Und es zeigt umso mehr, wenn diese Themen Grenzschutz, Verfahrenszentren möglich sind, wenn sie umgesetzt werden, dass dann umso mehr um die Frage Verteilung und möglicherweise auch gemeinsames Verfahren diskutiert werden kann. Also es zeigt, wir brauchen ein Programm, wir brauchen eine Systematik dahinter, damit auch alle europäischen Staaten hier mitgehen können.
Herr Minister, kurz nachgefragt, also keine Beteiligung an einer strukturierten Zusammenarbeit, haben Sie gesagt, wegen der Neutralität geht es nicht, aber an diesem Verteidigungsfonds gibt es da Möglichkeiten. Und dürfte ich Sie noch fragen, Ihre Einschätzung zum Nordkorea-Konflikt?
Na schon, ich habe schon gesagt, dass wir kooperieren ja auch sehr intensiv mit der NATO und es ist bei uns auch das Thema auch, dass wir in dieser ständig strukturierten Zusammenarbeit dabei sind, dass wir mitarbeiten, aber die Grenzen müssen klar definiert sind. Das ist ja auch jetzt im Programm so organisiert, dass auch Staaten wie Österreich teilnehmen können. Daher werden wir schon diesen Weg gehen, weil es immer ein Zeichen Österreichs war und der Weg Österreichs war zu kooperieren, denn nur gemeinsam, wenn man Fähigkeiten gemeinsam entwickelt, austauscht und dann auch in Anspruch nimmt, dann wird man auch in Europa eine entsprechende Verteidigungspolitik etablieren können. Die Situation in Nordkorea ist natürlich eine ganz andere. Wir sehen hier, dass natürlich Diplomatie nicht gerade in erster Linie auf dem Plan liegt. Ich gehe schon davon aus, und das ist jetzt auch der Weg, den ich so wahrgenommen habe, dass hier diplomatische Anstrengungen gemacht werden müssen, dass man mit den Worten abrüsten muss. Das ist, glaube ich, ein wichtiger Weg, weil ansonsten bin ich mir nicht sicher, in welche Schiene, in welchen Kreislauf man sich hier hineinbegibt.
Wir machen mit bei der ständig strukturierten Zusammenarbeit. Ich komme nachher zu dir und erkläre dir, was wir machen. Danke.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
That way.
Ça va, c'est mieux.